Before we begin, I need to be clear about something. What you're about to hear is general information only. This is not personal financial advice. This is not medical advice. Everyone's situation is different. Your health is different. Your interests are different. Your financial position is different. So please, treat this as education, as a conversation between friends, and always speak with the appropriate professionals before making major decisions about your retirement, your health, or your money. Right, let's begin. You've worked for 40 years, maybe more. You've set the alarm for 6 in the morning, 5 days a week, sometimes 6, for decades. You've sat in traffic, you've dealt with difficult bosses, you've navigated office politics, you've pushed through when you were tired, when you were sick, when you just didn't want to get out of bed. And you did it because you had to, because there were bills to pay, because there was a mortgage, because there were kids to raise, because that's what you do. And now, suddenly, it's over, or it's about to be over. The alarm is turned off, the traffic is someone else's problem, the office politics don't matter anymore. You're retired, or you're about to retire, and everyone keeps saying the same thing to you. Congratulations, you've earned this, enjoy yourself. But here's what no one tells you. Here's the secret that retired people don't talk about at parties. Retirement can be terrifying. Not financially. Well, yes, financially, we'll get to that. But I'm talking about something deeper, something that keeps you awake at night in a different way. I'm talking about the question that whispers in your mind when you wake up on a Tuesday morning and realize you have absolutely nowhere you need to be, no one who needs you, no purpose, no structure, no meaning. What am I supposed to do with myself? Maybe you've already retired and you're feeling this right now, that strange emptiness, that sense of drifting. You thought you'd love having nothing to do, and for the first few weeks, maybe you did. You slept in, you watched television, you pottered around the house, you finally cleaned out the garage. But then what? After the novelty wears off, after you've caught up on sleep and watched every series on Netflix, what then? Or maybe you haven't retired yet, but you're close, and you're lying awake at 3 in the morning, not just worried about money, but worried about this, about becoming irrelevant, about becoming invisible, about losing your sense of self. Because here's the truth. For most of your adult life, work has been your identity. When someone asks what you do, you tell them your job. I'm a teacher. I'm a tradie. I'm a nurse. I'm an accountant. That's who you are. But when you retire, who are you then? You're not a teacher anymore. You're not a nurse anymore. You're just retired. And that can feel like being nothing at all. I want you to know something right now. If you're feeling this way, you're not alone. Thousands of Australians go through this transition every year, and many of them struggle. Not because they're weak, not because they're doing something wrong, but because retirement is a massive life change. It's one of the biggest transitions you'll ever experience, and nobody really prepares you for the emotional side of it. Today, we're going to talk about something that might sound frivolous at first: hobbies, activities, things to do with your time. And I know, some of you are thinking, I didn't listen to this to hear about basket weaving classes. I've got real problems. I've got financial stress. I've got health concerns. I don't have time for hobbies. But here's what I've learned after decades of working with retirees. Your hobbies, your activities, your daily routines, they're not frivolous. They're essential. They're what give your life structure. They're what give you purpose. They're what keep you mentally sharp and physically healthy. They're what keep you connected to other people. And ultimately, they're what determine whether you thrive in retirement or whether you just survive it. So today, we're going to talk about this properly. We're going to talk about why hobbies matter so much in retirement. We're going to look at what's changed in Australia over the last few decades. We're going to break down the different types of activities and what they offer you. We're going to meet Bruce and Jenny again and see how they navigated this challenge. And we're going to give you a practical framework for building a retirement life that actually feels worth living. By the end of this, you won't have all the answers, but you'll have a roadmap, and you'll feel a little less alone in this. The Australian context. Let's go back in time. Let's go back to when your parents retired, or your grandparents. What did retirement look like then? For most Australians who retired in the 70s or 80s, retirement was short and simple. You worked until 60 or 65, then you stopped. You got your pension, you stayed home, you watched a bit of telly, you did some gardening, you visited the grandkids when they came around. And honestly, you didn't have that many years of retirement. Life expectancy was lower. People didn't live as long. A man retiring at 65 in 1970 could expect maybe another 10 or 12 years if he was lucky. A woman might get 15. So retirement wasn't this long, complex chapter of life. It was more like a gentle winding down, a bit of rest after a hard-working life, and then that was it. But something fundamental has changed, and you know this. You feel it. First, we're living much longer. If you're 65 today and in reasonably good health, you could easily live another 20 or 25 years, maybe 30. That's not a gentle wind down. That's a whole other lifetime. That's as long as your career was. You're looking at potentially spending as many years in retirement as you did working. Think about that. Really think about it. Second, we're retiring healthier. Your grandparents at 65 were often quite frail. Years of hard physical labor, smoking, poor diet, limited health care. But you, if you've looked after yourself even reasonably well, you're probably in pretty good shape at 65. You can walk, you can drive, you can travel. You've got energy, you've got capacity. You're not ready to sit in a chair and wait for the end. You want to live. Third, the structure of work has changed. Your parents probably worked for one company their whole life, were one trade. Their identity was simple and stable. But many of you have had multiple careers, multiple jobs. You've reinvented yourselves before. And that actually makes the transition to retirement harder in some ways, because you've experienced the loss of work identity multiple times. You know how disorienting it can be. Fourth, families have changed. Your grandparents probably lived near their kids and grandkids. They saw them all the time. They had a built-in role, babysitting, helping out, being involved. But today, families are scattered. Your kids might live interstate. Your grandkids might be on the other side of the country. You can't just pop over for afternoon tea. So that automatic sense of purpose and connection, it's not always there anymore. And fifth, the cost of living has exploded. We talked about this in the previous session, but it matters here too, because hobbies cost money, activities cost money. And if you're stressed about whether your super will last, you're not going to feel free to spend money on things that seem non-essential. You're going to feel guilty. You're going to think, I should be saving this money, not spending it on golf membership or art classes. So you end up in this trap. You know you need things to do. You know you need purpose and connection, but you feel like you can't afford it. So you do nothing. You stay home, you watch television, you scroll on your phone, and slowly, quietly, you start to disappear. And here's the tragic part. Doing nothing is actually more expensive in the long run, because when you're isolated, when you're bored, when you're inactive, your health deteriorates. You get depressed, you get anxious, you develop chronic conditions, and those things cost a fortune to treat. The medication, the GP visits, the specialist appointments, the hospital stays, it all adds up. So this idea that you're saving money by not having hobbies, it's false economy. You're not saving money, you're just deferring the cost and paying a much higher price later, not just financially, but in terms of your quality of life. This is the reality of retirement in modern Australia. It's longer, it's healthier, but it's also more complex, more isolating, more expensive. And if you don't actively build a life for yourself, if you don't find things that give you purpose and connection, you're going to struggle, really struggle. The Deep Dive, Part 1. So, what are we actually talking about when we say hobbies and activities? Let me break this down into categories, because not all activities are created equal. They serve different purposes, and you need a mix. Category 1. Physical activities. These are things that get your body moving. Walking, swimming, golf, bowls, cycling, dancing, tai chi, yoga, gardening. Proper gardening, where you're bending and digging and moving, not just watering a pot plant. Why does this matter? Because movement is medicine, literally. Physical activity reduces your risk of heart disease, stroke, diabetes, dementia, depression, osteoporosis, falls. It helps you maintain your independence. It helps you sleep better. It gives you energy. And here's the thing, it doesn't have to be intense. You don't need to run marathons. You don't need to lift heavy weights at the gym. Just regular, moderate movement. 30 minutes most days. That's it. But it needs to be regular, and it needs to be something you actually enjoy, because if you hate it, you won't stick with it. The challenge with physical activities is that many of them cost money. Gym memberships, golf club fees, swimming pool entry, and as you get older, you might need modifications, special shoes, a walking stick, a membership at a pool with disabled access. So there's a financial consideration. But there are also free or very cheap options. Walking in your local park, stretching at home with a YouTube video, community Tai Chi in the park. You've got to look for them, but they're there. Category 2. Social activities. These are things you do with other people. Book clubs, men's sheds, probus clubs, community choirs, dance classes, volunteering. U3A, that's University of the Third Age, where you can take courses on all sorts of topics. Cards, lawn bowls, church or other faith communities if that's your thing. Why does this matter? Because loneliness kills. That's not an exaggeration. Loneliness and social isolation have the same health impact as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It increases your risk of death by 26%. It increases your risk of dementia by 50%. It's a serious health issue. Humans are social creatures. We need connection. We need belonging. We need to feel like we matter to someone. And after you retire, if you don't actively seek out social connection, it just doesn't happen. Your work colleagues disappear. Your daily interactions disappear. And before you know it, days go by where you don't have a meaningful conversation with anyone. Social activities solve this. They give you regular contact with other people. They give you shared experiences. They give you friendships. And often, they give you a sense of purpose, especially if you're volunteering and helping others. The cost of social activities varies wildly. Some are free, like community groups, some cost a bit, like club memberships, and some require ongoing expenses, like if you join a social group that goes out for meals or trips together. Category 3. Creative activities. These are things where you make something. Painting, drawing, pottery, woodworking, writing, photography, knitting, sewing, cooking, baking, music, playing an instrument or singing. Why does this matter? Because creativity is good for your brain. It keeps you mentally sharp. It gives you a sense of achievement. It allows you to express yourself. And often, it gives you something tangible at the end. A painting, a piece of furniture, a cake, a song, something you made with your own hands. Creative activities also give you flow, that state where you're so absorbed in what you're doing that time disappears. You lose yourself in the work, and that's incredibly therapeutic. It quiets the anxious mind. It gives you peace. The cost here depends on what you choose. Writing is basically free. You just need a pen and paper, or a computer you probably already have. Painting or pottery can be more expensive. You need supplies, maybe classes. Woodworking requires tools and materials, so you need to think about what fits your budget. But here's a tip. Many community centers and libraries run free or very cheap creative workshops, and you can often borrow tools or equipment from men's sheds or community tool libraries. Category 4. Learning activities. These are things where you acquire new knowledge or skills. Taking a course, learning a language, studying history or science or philosophy, doing online learning, attending lectures, reading, proper reading where you're actually learning something, not just light entertainment. Why does this matter? Because learning keeps your brain healthy. It builds cognitive reserve, which protects you against dementia. It gives you intellectual stimulation. It gives you things to think about and talk about. And it reminds you that you're still capable of growth and change. One of the most damaging myths about aging is that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, that once you're past a certain age, you're done learning. That's garbage, complete garbage. Your brain remains plastic, capable of forming new connections for your entire life. You can learn new things at 70, at 80, at 90. You just learn differently, maybe a bit slower, but you absolutely can still learn. Learning activities can be free or cheap. Libraries are treasure troves of free learning. U3A courses are very affordable. Online courses, there are thousands of free ones through platforms like Coursera or Khan Academy or YouTube. You don't need to spend a fortune to keep learning. Category 5, purpose-driven activities. These are things where you're contributing to something bigger than yourself. Volunteering, mentoring, advocacy, community activism, caring for grandchildren, supporting a cause you believe in. Why does this matter? Because humans need purpose. We need to feel like our lives mean something, like we're making a difference, like the world is better because we're in it. And when you retire, you lose the purpose that work provided, so you need to find a new one. Purpose-driven activities are powerful because they take you outside yourself. They stop you from dwelling on your own problems and worries. They connect you to something meaningful, and they give you a reason to get out of bed in the morning. Most purpose-driven activities are free, and in fact, many save you money because you're helping others rather than consuming. Volunteering costs your time, not your money, though sometimes there are related costs like transport to get to your volunteering location. Now here's the key insight. You need a mix of these 5 categories. You can't just do one. If you only do physical activities, you'll be fit but lonely and bored. If you only do social activities, you'll have friends but your body will deteriorate. If you only do creative activities, you might become isolated. You need balance. You need variety. Think of it like a balanced diet. You need vegetables and protein and carbs and fruit. You can't just eat bread. Same with your retirement activities. You need physical and social and creative and learning and purpose, all of it. And the mix will be different for everyone. You might be someone who needs lots of social interaction. You're an extrovert. You get energy from being around people, so you'll weight your activities towards group things. Or you might be an introvert. You need quiet time alone to recharge, so you'll weight your activities towards solo, creative, or learning pursuits, with just a little bit of social mixed in. There's no right or wrong, but there is balance and there is intentionality. You can't just hope that activities will find you. You have to go looking for them. Waiting to die, which is a horrible thing to feel when you're only 62 and in good health. Jenny noticed. She noticed he was getting quieter, more irritable. He wasn't sleeping well despite spending all day doing nothing. He wasn't interested in anything. And she was worried, really worried, because she'd seen this before with her own father. After he retired, he just faded, lost interest in life, got depressed, and within 5 years, he was gone. So Jenny pushed Bruce. She said, "You need to find something to do. You can't just sit here." And Bruce, he resisted at first. He said, "I'm fine. I'm just tired. I worked for 40 years. I deserve a rest." But deep down, he knew she was right. This wasn't rest. This was stagnation. Jenny suggested the local men's shed. She'd heard about it from a neighbor. It's a community workshop where mostly retired men get together to work on projects, woodworking, metalwork, fixing things, building things. And there's also a social side, morning tea, chat, mateship. Bruce was skeptical. He said, "I'm not a woodworker. I don't know how to build anything. I worked in an office. What would I do there?" But Jenny kept pushing. She said, "Just go once. Just try it. What have you got to lose?" So Bruce went. He was nervous. He felt awkward. He walked into this big shed full of tools and men working on projects, and he felt completely out of place. But the coordinator, an older bloke named Mick, came over straight away, said g'day, made him feel welcome, showed him around, didn't pressure him to do anything, just said, "Have a cup of tea, have a look around, see what interests you." Bruce ended up staying for 2 hours. He watched a guy making a wooden toy for his grandson. He watched another guy restoring an old chair. He listened to the banter, the jokes, the stories, and something inside him relaxed. These were just ordinary blokes, tradies, office workers, farmers, all sorts, and they were just mucking around, making things, helping each other out. No pressure, no judgment. He went back the next week, and the week after that, and slowly he started working on his own projects. First, just simple things, sanding down a piece of timber, learning to use the tools safely. Then bigger things. He made a birdhouse, then a garden planter box for Jenny, then a proper bookshelf. And he discovered he actually loved it, loved working with his hands, loved the smell of sawdust, loved the satisfaction of making something from scratch. But more than that, he loved the social side. The other men became his mates. They went for coffee after the shed. They helped each other with projects at home. They checked in on each other. When Bruce had a bad week, when he was feeling low, someone noticed. Someone asked if he was okay. And that mattered. That really mattered. So the men's shed covered 2 categories for Bruce. Physical, because he was moving around, lifting, working with his hands, and social, because he was connecting with other people. But he still needed more. Jenny, meanwhile, had her own challenges. She'd retired from her part-time job about 6 months after Bruce stopped work. And she thought she'd be fine. She had friends, she had book club, she had her walking group, but she found that after a while it wasn't enough. The conversations at book club started to feel shallow, repetitive, everyone complaining about their grandkids or their ailments, and she wanted something more. She'd always been interested in art. She used to draw a bit when she was younger, before kids and work took over her life. So she looked into art classes, found a community center running a watercolor painting course for beginners. 8-week course, 1 morning a week, not too expensive. She signed up, and it changed everything. She discovered she had talent. Or maybe not talent exactly, but she had an eye for it. She enjoyed it. She lost herself in it. Hours would pass while she was painting, and she wouldn't even notice. It became her meditation, her therapy. She also made new friends in the class, women from all different backgrounds, and the conversations were different. They talked about color theory, about technique, about what they were trying to express in their paintings. It was stimulating, challenging. It made her feel alive in a way that book club didn't. After the 8 weeks ended, several of the women decided to keep meeting. They'd rent a space once a week and paint together, share materials, give each other feedback. And Jenny loved it. It gave her structure. It gave her something to look forward to. It gave her a creative outlet. So now Jenny had physical activity from her walking group, social activity from book club and her painting group, creative activity from painting. But she still felt like something was missing. Purpose. She started thinking about volunteering. She'd seen a notice at the library looking for volunteer literacy tutors, people to help adults learn to read. She'd never thought of herself as a teacher, but the idea intrigued her. Helping someone learn to read? What a gift that would be. She applied. She did the training, and she started working with a woman in her 40s who'd never learned to read properly as a child and had been hiding it her whole life. It was hard work, frustrating sometimes, but also incredibly rewarding. Watching this woman slowly gain confidence, seeing her face light up when she successfully read a sentence, that meant something. That mattered. So now Jenny had all 5 categories covered. physical from walking, social from multiple groups, creative from painting, learning from the painting techniques she was picking up, and purpose from the literacy tutoring. Bruce and Jenny started to thrive, not just survive, but actually thrive. They had structure to their weeks. They had things to look forward to. They had friends. They had purpose. And their health improved. Their mental health improved. Their relationship improved because they each had their own interests and brought new energy into the home. But here's the important part. It didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen by accident. Jenny pushed Bruce to try the men's shed. Bruce encouraged Jenny to try the art class. They talked about what was working and what wasn't. They adjusted. They experimented. They gave themselves permission to try things and quit if they didn't work. And gradually, over about a year, they built a retirement life that actually felt good. They also had to think about money. The men's shed membership cost Bruce a small annual fee, maybe $150, plus occasional costs for materials if he wanted to buy his own timber for projects. Jenny's art class cost about $200 for the 8 weeks. Then there were ongoing costs for paints and paper, maybe $20 or $30 a month. The volunteer tutoring was free, but she drove to the library each week, so there was petrol. Add it all up, they were spending maybe $1,000 to $1,500 a year on hobbies and activities. That's not nothing, but it's also not breaking the bank. It's less than what some people spend on streaming services and takeaway coffee. And the return on investment, in terms of their health and happiness, was enormous. The lesson from Bruce and Jenny is this: you have to be intentional. You have to experiment. You have to invest time, and yes, some money, into building a life that works. It won't happen automatically, but it's possible, and it's worth it. The solutions and strategy. So how do you actually do this? How do you go from feeling lost and aimless to having a rich, fulfilling retirement? Let me give you a framework. Step 1. Audit your current situation. Be honest with yourself. What are you actually doing with your time right now? Track it for a week. Write down how you spend each day. How many hours are you watching television? How many hours are you scrolling on your phone? How many hours are you doing genuinely engaging activities? How much time are you spending with other people? This isn't about judging yourself. It's about awareness. You can't change what you don't measure. Also, ask yourself, how do you feel? Are you lonely? Are you bored? Are you anxious or depressed? Are you sleeping well? Are you physically active? Be honest, really honest. Step 2. Identify which categories you're missing. Look at the 5 categories we talked about: physical, social, creative, learning, purpose. Which ones are you doing? Which ones are you neglecting? Most people who are struggling in retirement are missing at least 2 or 3 categories. Often they have physical covered, they go for a walk sometimes, but they're missing social and purpose. Or they have social from seeing family, but they're missing physical and creative. Identify your gaps. Write them down. Step 3. Think about your interests and values. What did you used to enjoy before work took over your life? What did you used to do as a kid that you loved? What have you always wanted to try but never had time for? And what matters to you? What do you care about? If you care about the environment, maybe your purpose could be environmental volunteering. If you care about education, maybe it's tutoring or mentoring. If you care about animals, maybe it's working at a shelter. Your activities should align with your values. That's what makes them meaningful. Step 4. Start small and experiment. You don't need to commit to everything at once. Pick one thing, just one, something that addresses one of your gaps and sounds vaguely interesting, and try it for a month. Give it a real go. If you hate it, stop. No guilt. Try something else. But if you like it, keep going, and then add something else. Build slowly. Remember Bruce? He didn't sign up for 5 things in week 1. He just went to the men's shed once and built from there. Step 5. Deal with the barriers. What's stopping you from doing things? Is it money? Is it transport? Is it physical limitations? Is it lack of confidence? Is it not knowing where to start? If it's money, look for free or low-cost options. Council-run activities, library programs, community groups, online learning, walking in the park. They exist. You just have to look. If it's transport, can you arrange a lift? Can you carpool with someone? Can you find activities in walking distance? Can you use community transport services if you're eligible? If it's physical limitations, look for modified activities. Chair yoga, gentle aqua aerobics, accessible walking groups. Most activities have versions for different ability levels. If it's confidence, that's harder, but start with low-pressure things where you can just observe at first. Join a group where beginners are welcome. Remember, everyone was a beginner once. If you don't know where to start, ask around. Talk to your doctor about local programs. Call your council and ask what's available. Go to your library and look at notice boards. Search online for activities in your area. The information is out there. Step 6. Build routine and structure. One of the hardest things about retirement is losing structure. When you worked, your days had shape. Alarm at 6, out the door by 7, work until 5, home, dinner, sleep, repeat. You didn't have to think about it. In retirement, you have to create your own structure, and that takes discipline. You need to decide, I'm going to the men's shed every Tuesday and Thursday. I'm doing art class every Wednesday morning. I'm volunteering every Friday afternoon. I'm walking every day at 9. Put it in your calendar. Treat it like an appointment you can't cancel, because if you don't, life will just drift by. You'll wake up at 10, potter around all day, achieve nothing, and feel terrible about yourself. Structure gives you purpose. It gives you something to get out of bed for. It stops you from spiraling into aimlessness. Step 7. Connect with others. Don't just do solo activities. Make sure at least some of what you do involves other people, because connection is so important. If you're naturally shy or introverted, this is hard. I get it. But you still need some social interaction, even if it's just one small group once a week. That's enough. And here's a secret. The best way to make friends in retirement is through shared activities, not by trying to make friends directly, but by doing things alongside other people. You bond over the shared experience. Whether that's lawn bowls or painting or volunteering, it doesn't matter. The activity gives you something to talk about, a reason to be together, and friendships develop naturally from there. Step 8. Be patient with yourself. Building a new life takes time. It takes trial and error. It takes courage. And it's okay if it feels hard at first. It's okay if you try things and they don't work out. It's okay if you feel awkward or out of place initially. Give things a proper chance, at least 3 or 4 sessions before you decide it's not for you. Because often the first time you try something new, it feels uncomfortable. That's normal. You're outside your comfort zone. But if you stick with it, it gets easier. And celebrate small wins. You went to a class even though you were nervous? That's a win. You stayed for the whole session? That's a win. You talked to someone new? That's a win. Acknowledge your progress. Step 9. Consider the financial side carefully. Yes, activities cost money, but they don't have to cost a lot. And remember, this is an investment in your health and well-being. It's not frivolous spending, it's essential spending. Set a realistic budget for hobbies and activities. Maybe it's $50 a month, maybe it's $200. Whatever you can afford without stressing about it, and work within that. Look for free options. Look for subsidized programs. Many councils offer concession rates for seniors. Look for once-off costs versus ongoing costs. Buying a set of watercolor paints might cost $100 up front, but then you've got them, whereas a gym membership costs every month. And consider the savings. If your activities keep you healthy and prevent falls or chronic disease, you're saving far more in healthcare costs down the track. That's not just speculation. That's proven by research. Step 10. Review and adjust regularly. Every few months, check in with yourself. Are your activities still working for you? Are you still enjoying them? Are you getting what you need from them? Or has something changed? Maybe you loved painting at first, but now it feels like a chore. That's okay. You can stop. You can try something else. You're not locked in forever. Or maybe you've been doing the same thing for 2 years and you're ready for a new challenge. Great. Add something, learn a language, take up photography, try ballroom dancing. Keep evolving. Retirement is long. Your interests will change. Your abilities will change. Your circumstances will change. And your activities need to change with them. Stay flexible. Stay curious. Stay open to new possibilities. The conclusion. We've covered a lot today, and I know your head might be full. That's okay. Take a breath. Let me bring this back to where we started. You worked for 40 years. You did your bit. You provided for your family. You paid your taxes. You showed up day after day, even when you didn't feel like it. And now you're here, retired, or about to be. And maybe you're scared. Maybe you're worried about becoming invisible, becoming irrelevant, losing yourself. But here's what I want you to understand. Retirement is not an ending. It's not the final chapter where you just wait around for the end. It's the beginning of something new. It's the third act, and the third act can be the best act. But it won't happen by itself. You have to write it. You have to create it. You have to build a life that has meaning and purpose and connection and joy. And that takes effort, real effort. But it's worth it. I promise you, it's worth it. Think about what you want your days to look like. Not what society thinks they should look like, not what your kids think, not what your neighbors think. What do you want? What would make you happy? What would make you feel alive? Maybe it's working with your hands in a shed. Maybe it's painting. Maybe it's helping someone learn to read. Maybe it's walking with friends. Maybe it's learning Italian. Maybe it's all of those things. There's no right answer. There's only your answer. And here's the beautiful thing. You have time now. You have the gift of time. Time that you never had when you were working and raising kids and managing a household. Yes, you have less time left than you did at 20, but you have more freedom, more choice, more control over how you spend your days. So use it. Use it wisely. Use it intentionally. Don't waste it sitting in front of a screen feeling sorry for yourself. Get out there. Try things. Meet people. Make things. Learn things. Help people. Live. I know there are barriers. I know money is tight for many of you. I know your knees hurt. I know you're tired. I know it's easier to stay home. But easy isn't the same as good. And staying home, staying isolated, staying inactive, that's the fast track to decline. Physical decline, mental decline, emotional decline. But connection, activity, purpose, those are the antidotes. Those are what keep you young, not in body necessarily, but in spirit. Those are what give your life meaning. You've earned this third act. You've earned the right to enjoy it. So give yourself permission. Permission to spend a bit of money on things that